was early morning in Chapel Hill when two friends came back to their apartment, thinking Faith Hedgepeth was just sleeping in. Her car was outside, the door was unlocked. Everything looked normal until they walked into her room. What they found stopped them in their tracks. There was a blanket covering something on the floor, blood on the walls. The room was still, but it was clear something terrible had happened. There were no broken locks, no cameras showing who came or went. Just a few strange late-night texts, some suspicious behavior, and a crime scene no one could ever forget. What really happened in that apartment? And why did it take so long for her killer to be caught? Faith Danielle Hedgepeth was born on September 26, 1992, in Warren County, North Carolina. A proud member of the Halliwa-Saponi Native American tribe, she grew up in a close-knit family guided by her mother, Connie, and her older sister, Rolanda, after her parents divorced during her infancy. Despite the separation, Faith maintained a deep bond with her father, Roland, who once described her as the light that helped him overcome his darkest struggles with addiction. Her arrival, he said, gave him a renewed sense of purpose. Gifted and determined, Faith excelled academically. She earned the prestigious Gates Millennium Scholarship and enrolled at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, where she initially pursued a degree in biology. Though the transition to university life proved challenging, Faith refused to be discouraged. She changed her major, worked 2 jobs, and remained focused on her goal of becoming the first college graduate in her family. Her dream was to either become a pediatrician or a teacher, 2 professions that mirrored her generous and compassionate spirit. Faith shared an off-campus apartment in Chapel Hill with her friend and former roommate from freshman year, Karina Rosie Rosario. They lived in Unit 1502 at Hawthorne at the View, a complex just minutes from campus. For a time, Karina's boyfriend, Eric, also stayed with them, but his presence soon became a source of tension. The relationship between Eric and Karina turned toxic, marked by volatility and eventual breakups. Even after Karina changed the locks, Eric attempted to break into the apartment twice. With Faith's help, Karina obtained a protective order. Despite this, Eric moved into another unit in the same complex, remaining dangerously close. On September 6, 2012, Faith attended her classes and later participated in an event held by Alpha Pi Omega, the nation's oldest Native American sorority, which she hoped to one day join. By 7:15 p.m., she left the event to focus on a history paper about her tribe. At 8 p.m., she and Karina went to the campus library. Faith briefly left, returning at 11:30 p.m., and the two returned to their apartment around midnight. Shortly after, they decided to go out to The Thrill, a nightclub known for admitting people under 21. Security footage showed them entering The Thrill at 12:40 a.m. They danced for over an hour before Karina began to feel ill from drinking. They were recorded leaving at 2:07 a.m., with Faith driving them back home. Upon returning to their apartment, Karina reportedly became sick and went to bed. Around 3 a.m., a neighbor heard loud banging noises from above, describing them as heavy thuds, like furniture being toppled or a heavy backpack hitting the floor. Faith's Facebook account showed activity at approximately 3:30 a.m., followed 10 minutes later by a text message from her phone to Brandon Edwards, another of Karina's ex-boyfriends. The message read, "Hey B, can you come over here please? Rosario needs you more. Aha. Please let her know you care." Brandon responded the next afternoon at 4:16 p.m., asking who had messaged him, but by then it was too late. No reply ever came. At the same time the messages were being sent, Karina's phone also showed outgoing calls to Brandon. Faith's final known communication occurred at 3:52 a.m. when she messaged Ty Michael McNeil, her on and off boyfriend, saying, "I know you're probably sleeping, but I just wanted to let you know that I love you." At 4:25 a.m., Karina was picked up by a friend, Jordan McCrary, a soccer player at the university. She left the apartment door unlocked and believed Faith was asleep. The next morning, around 10:30 a.m., Karina attempted to contact Faith for a ride back. When she didn't answer, Karina reached out to a mutual friend, Marisol Rangel, who picked her up. They returned to the apartment just before 11 a.m. and assumed Faith had simply overslept. Upon entering, they called out her name. There was no response. What they found in the bedroom was beyond comprehension. Faith's body was discovered partially undressed and covered with a blanket, positioned against the bed. Her shirt had been pulled up over her head. There were signs of a vicious attack. Blood spattered across the walls, floors, and furniture. A used tampon was also found near her body, a detail that deeply disturbed investigators. There was no indication of forced entry, and frustratingly, no security cameras captured the movements in or out of the apartment that night. Karina was the one who placed the 911 call. The moment authorities stepped into the apartment, they were met with a scene so disturbing it left even seasoned officers shaken. The brutality of the crime was undeniable. Faith Hedgepeth had been violently attacked, and the evidence of the assault was everywhere. She was pronounced dead at the scene. In the days and months following the murder of 19-year-old Faith Hedgepeth, investigators uncovered disturbing details that painted a chilling picture, but still left too many questions unanswered. One of the most significant discoveries was the presence of semen on Faith's body. DNA testing revealed it matched genetic material found elsewhere in the bedroom. While the physical evidence pointed to a possible sexual assault, the autopsy found no major trauma to the genital area. Still, Chapel Hill police leaned toward the belief that Faith had likely been raped, a conclusion her family firmly supports. A Bacardi rum bottle recovered from the crime scene became a key piece of evidence. It contained both tissue fragments and DNA, leading investigators to believe it may have been the murder weapon. Beside Faith's body lay a fast food bag from Time Out Chicken, with a handwritten message scrawled across it. "I'm not stupid. Bitch. Jealous." Strangely, although the room was splattered with blood, the note remained clean. This suggested the killer had either written it after the attack, taking time to wash up, or had placed it carefully after attempting to conceal their identity. Handwriting expert Peggy Waller examined the note and concluded that it was written in a disguised style, indicating someone deliberately altered their handwriting to avoid being recognized. Faith's murder rocked the Chapel Hill community, a place that typically saw fewer than one homicide a year. According to Police Chief Chris Blue, her case quickly became one of the most extensive homicide investigations in North Carolina history. Still, for many months, updates were sparse. Yet for Faith's family, the search for answers was agonizingly slow. Her mother, Connie, revealed that the family wasn't even allowed to view her daughter's body. It would take 2 years before they learned about the handwritten note left at the crime scene or had access to the autopsy report. All details surrounding her death were sealed by court order, which contradicted the usual policies of Chapel Hill police. In December 2012, the FBI joined the investigation. They developed a psychological profile of the suspect, theorizing that Faith's killer had likely known her and may have lived nearby. They also believed the person may have taken an unusual interest in the case, possibly talking about it frequently or displaying strange behavior afterward. By July 2014, after another court order, Chapel Hill police finally released 300 pages of case documents. The autopsy report followed in September, confirming what the family already knew. Faith had died from repeated blows to the head. Her body was covered in cuts and bruises, and blood was found under her fingernails, signs she had fought hard for her life. Court documents showed that only 2 apartments were searched in the early days of the investigation, Faith's and one other unit in the same complex. Some sources claim that the wooded area behind the apartment was never searched. Reports also indicate that no sniffer dogs were brought in, and officers didn't go door to door to question other residents, a surprising omission in such a high-profile case. Faith's phone offered another potential lead. On the night of her death, she called her friend Una Chavis 3 times. One of those calls left a voicemail, an accidental recording believed to have happened while the phone was in Faith's pocket. The message is difficult to understand, but those who knew her well believe it captured a tense moment. Some claimed they heard arguing or even a struggle. Others thought it just sounded like nightclub background noise. Faith's father, Roland, insists he can hear his daughter in distress. One journalist, Tom Gasparoli, became deeply invested in the case, launching a blog and podcast to help uncover the truth. He worked alongside forensic audio expert Arlo West, who reviewed the voicemail in detail. West, a veteran in audio enhancement and forensic analysis, believed the recording captured 4 voices, 2 male and 2 female, and suggested a heated exchange. The timestamp showed the message was left at 1:23 a.m., shortly before Faith was seen leaving the club with her roommate. By 2:07 a.m. on September 7, 2012, Faith Hedgepeth and her roommate were captured on surveillance footage leaving the Thrill nightclub. At that moment, everything seemed fine, at least on the surface. But as the timeline of that night continued to unravel, investigators and independent experts began to question just how accurate the digital trail really was. One of those experts was forensic audio analyst Arlo West, who expressed doubts about the timestamp on a mysterious voicemail left from Faith's phone at 1:23 a.m., a time that seemingly conflicted with the known club footage. According to West, both Faith and her friend Una Chavis owned phones that were prone to timestamping issues. He also noted that the local cell towers were unreliable and suggested the message may have been recorded at a different time altogether. While Chapel Hill police agreed to review his enhanced version of the audio, they ultimately stood by the original metadata, stating they didn't believe the recording captured the moment of the murder. In 2015, Chapel Hill police expressed confidence that the DNA evidence would eventually lead them to an arrest. Though they didn't publicly confirm what specific DNA was being referenced or where it was collected, they remained optimistic. Meanwhile, Faith's death created a deep sense of fear and grief on campus. Vigils were held in her memory, including a traditional Native American ceremony to honor her life and spirit. Many students mourned her loss not just as a friend, but as a cultural sister whose joy and kindness had touched countless lives. In 2016, a major development reignited interest in the case. Using DNA collected from the crime scene, a Virginia-based lab generated a composite sketch of the potential suspect. The image was built using forensic phenotyping, predicting traits like eye color, skin tone, face shape, and even likely ancestry. Based on the results, The suspect was believed to be of Native American and European or Latino descent. While not definitive, the sketch gave investigators and the public a possible face behind the crime. Several people connected to Faith were scrutinized as part of the ongoing investigation. Among them was a man seen leaving the nightclub with Faith and Karina. He had arrived at the club earlier with 3 others. All 4 were questioned and provided DNA samples, but none matched the DNA from the scene. Much of the suspicion also fell on Karina's ex-boyfriend, Eric. He was known to have disliked Faith's influence over Karina and reportedly blamed her for the breakup. Police uncovered troubling messages sent by Eric in the hours before the murder. On September 6th, he sent a text to a friend asking for forgiveness for something he was about to do. A similarly worded message appeared on Twitter. Then, 3 days after Faith was killed, he posted a cryptic message on Facebook. "Dear Lord, forgive me for all of my sins and the sins I may commit today. Protect me from the girls who don't deserve me and the ones who wish me dead today." Investigators seized Eric's vehicle and searched his home but found nothing of use. His DNA did not match the sample from the crime scene, and although he was cooperative, police still consider him a person of interest. They suspect he may have knowledge about who was responsible, even if he wasn't directly involved. Faith's father has remained outspoken. He continues to believe that Karina knows more than she's revealed. Others have also questioned her behavior following the discovery of Faith's body, especially the 911 call she made. The call, which lasted over 8 minutes, made no mention of Faith by name and didn't acknowledge that another friend was also present in the apartment. This created the impression that Karina was alone.
11:01 a.m. 44 seconds, September 7, 2012.
Durham 911, where is your emergency?
I just walked into my apartment and my friend is just he's unconscious.
Okay, what's your address, ma'am?
I live at Hawthorne at the View.
You say your friend is unconscious?
He's unconscious. I just walked in the apartment and there looks like there's blood everywhere.
Okay, listen to me. Okay, how old is she?
She's 19.
Listen to me. Is she breathing?
I don't know.
You need to check and see. Is she breathing?
I don't think so.
Okay, listen to me.
There's blood everywhere. She's on her back, but I think she fell off the bed because she's off the bed. There's blood all over the pillows, in the comforter. I just don't know what happened.
Touch her arm. Tell me, how does she feel?
She's not moving.
Okay, ma'am, we need to find out if we can help her or not. Okay, kneel next to her and look in her mouth for food or vomit. Tell me something. Listen to me. What is your name?
Karina.
Listen to me. When you touched her, how does she feel?
She feels cold.
She feels cold? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Don't touch anything else. Okay? Okay. What room is she in?
She's in my bedroom.
Listen to me.
In my room that was not here before.
Okay.
It looks
Listen
like
to
someone
me.
that came in here.
Okay. Okay.
It really does.
Okay. Tell me again what your name is.
It looks like someone had been in there because she's not the cell. I don't know what.
Okay. Now tell me again what your name is.
What?
What is your name?
Karina Rosario.
Karina? Okay, Karina. How old are you, Karina?
I'm 20.
You're 20? Okay, hon.
Police have said that Karina's account left lingering questions and that there were inconsistencies in what she told investigators. One of the neighbors, who bumped into Karina and Marisol just minutes after the body was found, recalled that the girls didn't appear shaken. Adding to the confusion, Karina had reportedly left the nightclub early due to feeling unwell, only to leave the apartment again just hours later, leaving the front door unlocked. The person who picked her up was a soccer player at the university. The roommate of the soccer player claimed to have noticed a small red mark on Karina's clothing that day. Police were made aware of this and searched for the shirt in question. It was tested, but the results were inconclusive. Authorities could not say whether the stain was blood, nor did the test link Karina directly to the crime. Despite the lack of physical evidence tying her to the murder, Karina has remained a central figure in the case. Private investigator Hunter Glass, who has worked closely with Faith's family, believes that the truth may lie with her. He suspects a possible argument between Faith and Karina at the Thrill nightclub, possibly over a relationship, could have been the spark that led to Faith's death. Not long after the murder, Karina moved out of North Carolina and has not spoken publicly about the case. According to Faith's father, Roland, she stopped answering his calls as well. Still, police say Karina has always been cooperative when contacted. As the investigation expanded, other names began to surface. Karina revealed that Faith had been romantically involved with both her high school sweetheart Alex and Ty Michael McNeil around the same time. She described Ty as emotionally intense and said Faith had once confided that he pushed her into a wall during an argument. Another friend, Una Chavis, who received a mysterious voicemail from Faith's phone the night of the murder, echoed similar concerns. Una recalled Faith telling her that Ty had also struck her in the past. Ty was interviewed during a 2018 case review. He said that on the evening before Faith's death, he texted her asking if she wanted to spend time together, but received no reply until a message arrived from her phone at 3:52 a.m. The message read as affectionate, but both Roland and Una felt it didn't sound like Faith. She had just recently told Una she wanted to rekindle her relationship with Alex, making the late-night message to Ty seem out of character. Ty submitted a DNA sample and said he had an alibi, but wasn't sure if police had officially cleared him. For nearly a decade, the murder of Faith Hedgepeth was surrounded by theories, suspicions, and unanswered questions. Friends, former partners, and close acquaintances had all come under scrutiny, and investigators chased countless leads with no arrest, until everything shifted in 2021. On September 16, 2021, the Chapel Hill Police Department announced the arrest of 28-year-old Miguel Salguero Olivares of Durham, North Carolina. The breakthrough came not through interviews or tips, but through DNA, collected after Salguero Olivares was arrested the month before on a DUI charge in nearby Wake County. His genetic profile was entered into the system, and it matched DNA recovered from the crime scene nearly 9 years earlier. Court documents later revealed that it wasn't just the DNA that connected him to the murder. A palm print found on the suspected murder weapon, a liquor bottle, also matched Salguero Olivares, making the evidence against him even stronger. Police had not publicly identified Salguero Olivares as a suspect before the match, and his name had never appeared in early reports. His sudden connection to the case stunned both the public and those who had long followed the investigation. Chief of Police Chris Blue asked the community for patience, stating, "This story will take time to completely unfold." Then, in November 2024, the case took another serious turn. Prosecutors amended the original indictment, formally adding 3 new charges: first-degree burglary, first-degree rape, and first-degree sexual offense. The additional charges deepened the gravity of the accusations and brought new clarity to what may have happened that night in Faith's apartment. With the arrest came a mix of relief and renewed pain. After years of doubt, the case had finally produced a name. a person now legally accused of ending Faith's life. But as the legal process began, so did a new chapter in the search for answers. Who was Miguel Salguero Olivares? How did he come into contact with Faith? And what exactly happened in those final moments? For her family, it was a long-awaited step toward justice. But for a community still haunted by the loss, it marked just the beginning of uncovering the full truth. Thanks for tuning in to Unreal True Crime. If you're intrigued by mysteries from around the world, check out our new channel, Latin Crimes, where we dive into the gripping true crime stories of Latin America. Don't miss out. Subscribe now for more thrilling investigations.